And with me now is Perry Bellegarde, the First Nations advocate and former national chief of the Assembly of First Nations. Mr. Bellegarde, really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here, Scott.
Your reaction first and foremost to the news of his death.
Well, firstly, to his family, we always extend our prayers and condolences, and we pray for strength for the family, and we extend our condolence at this difficult time when we hear of this death. He was a strong leader, not only for people in Manitoba, but right across Canada.
Yeah, we will get into his legacy with you in just a moment, but first and foremost, what will you remember most? Personally, what stood out during your interactions over the years?
Well, over the years, I was national chief in 2015 when Murray came out with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action. And I can remember that day when he delivered the address to the forum, to the crowd that was assembled to accept and receive that. Canada was there, the crowd was full, but his strength, his dedication, his commitment, his desire to bring about change in Canada, it came so clear. That was one of my fondest memories, just to witness that. It was his commitment was so genuine and sincere, and that resonated.
Ultimately, in the big picture of his legacy, how important is his strength, is his work on truth and reconciliation?
Well, it's vital to building a better country for us all. You know, we acknowledge his work. You know, he led a justice inquiry in Manitoba, you know, looking about to strengthen and reform the justice system that's there, because there's systemic racism within that system. He became the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, hearing stories from thousands and thousands of survivors from the residential school about the impact and the genocide from that system, you know, and hearing the intergenerational traumas and seeing and feeling the generational traumas. And when he came up with the 94 calls to action, it really is a roadmap to reconciliation in Canada. But he also said it's a roadmap, but every one of us as people, as human beings, as Canadians, have to do the heavy lifting, have to do that work, and be open to change, to build a better country for our children and grandchildren and those yet unborn. And so he's laid that foundation, the roadmap, and we've got to continue and build on that legacy of implementing that going forward.
You talk about the rest of us, Canadians, doing the heavy lifting, doing the work from now on. And we could talk about many examples of his impact on the Indigenous community. Ultimately, how will his legacy live on in this country?
Oh, it's going to live on. I've always said you don't have to be elected to be a leader. And Murray Sinclair was a leader on so many fronts. We acknowledge that leadership. We can only emulate and follow in his footsteps to keep building, and that path is there. We have to follow that, and we have to make sure that we don't drop that ball or steer off that path of reconciliation that he's laid for us. And Murray, I can say that we lift him up and acknowledge him, because he's really made a better country for all of us.
All right, and important conversations that we should all continue to have. Perry Bellegarde is a First Nations advocate and former national chief of the Assembly of First Nations. Greatly appreciate your time today.
Thanks again for the opportunity.